Welcome everybody to another episode of the J2 Hub podcast. We are truly in 2021 and my next guest is someone who I've been trying to get pinned down for quite a while. To be fair, it's me who's been cancelling on him because I've always had something going on. So I appreciate him being so patient and kind of hanging around waiting for me. The reason I wanted to get this next guy on was because I feel he's achieved so much in such a small period of time. He's somebody who's very young in the game compared to some others that are quite well on. And he's got a strategy that most people kind of step towards. They don't just go straight into. So without further ado, Alfred, thank you so much for joining me today, mate. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on.
No, thanks. No, it's a pleasure for me to be on here. So yeah, I appreciate you bringing me on here.
So Alfred, I'm going to start. I know most people start by saying, who are you, what you do. I'm going to come to that a little bit later on. I'm going to take this right to the end. I'm going to ask you, why are you doing what you do, man?
It's for me, it's always been something. I think I always wanted to create wealth young. And when I kind of researched how people became wealthy, the one fundamental thing that was always amongst all wealthy people was real estate or property, or whatever you want to call it. So that's what kind of got me into looking into property. And for me, that's what I thought I'm going to try and replicate and do the same if I want to try and build some wealth for me. So that's why I do property. But obviously there's a why as well, like in terms of why I'm actually doing the actual property investing stuff. So which is for me is again to be able to support people around me, having more time to do the things I actually want to do as well. I actually see properties like a foundation, like a stepping stone for me to kind of go on to do bigger things, solve bigger problems. So yeah, that's what I'm doing at the moment.
So where was your, where did it click for you that property was what the wealthy do? Was this something you heard? Was this something you saw? Or was it there was a light bulb moment?
I think the realization came in, so I went down the corporate world, so leaving uni. I was working as project manager at Jaguar Land Rover. I was contracting there. And after like literally year one of working, I just kind of thought to myself, surely there's more to this. Like it became very repetitive, like same lifestyle, same everyday routine. And I was like, surely there's more to this. So let's kind of dig in again and see what's out there. And obviously property was something I even discussed back during uni. And that's what kind of triggered it for me to kind of step back into that space and say, okay, what can we do to acquire the information to learn about property investing and build some wealth whilst I've got this good paying salary job as well on the side. Just look elsewhere, basically, where there's opportunity.
I like what you said there about freedom. And you know what? The more guests I speak to is I find the same thing coming up time and time again. It's the whole freedom thing. And again, something you said there was there's got to be more to life than this. I hear that time and time again as well. People go into the corporate world or they go into a job or a 9-to-5. I'm not dissing a 9-to-5. I think some people have got great 9-to-5s. But yeah, I'm with you, man. I hear you when you're saying like there has to be more to life than just coming to work, doing your thing, taking your lunch break at 1 o'clock and going home at 5.
And then another thing as well, the way I see it is with the corporate world, my personal opinion. So if you treat even like from a business point of view, whereby when you step into a role, like I was a project manager, I was looking at the senior project managers, looking at their salaries. Another thing as well, the first time I ever came to researching what's the highest I could earn was after a year of working, which is crazy. You think surely before you even decide you want to go into a certain job role, you want to check, are you happy with what's the ceiling you can make in that job role? And I was like, wait, to become a senior project manager, I would need to have 10 years experience to maybe just about hit 6 figures. Do you know what I mean? And even at that point, it's very limited to how much that 6 figures can go. It's 100, 150K maybe at most. So it's like, do I really want to spend my 40 years of working, whatever you want to call it, only being able to achieve that level of money per year? And I was like, surely this, as a business, I can create a business. This again comes down to self-belief, but I can surely create a business that will generate me more money than that. So that's another thing. Is like I looked at it as like from a revenue point of view, surely I can spend 40 years and create something better than what I'm going to do in a corporate world. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense, mate. 100%. It's good that you looked at that so early on as well, rather than settling.
I thought I was late.
Do you think? No. A year in, mate.
1
That
year
is
into working, and you're
early.
thinking, oh, what's the highest I can earn in this role, like progression wise? Like,
Listen, the thing is, you could have made the horrible mistake of where you just carry on going and then you start taking on commitments. You know, you get yourself that flash car, you get that higher mortgage, you got your medical insurance to pay. Suddenly you got a couple of kids and you're paying for their school bills. And then it becomes a position where you're like, oh, fuck, I can't leave now. You know, this place has got me by my balls. So it's good that you were able to establish that quite early on in your career.
yeah, no, for me, I personally feel it was late. I felt like I should. I wish I knew. I guess you don't know what you don't know, and you only get wiser as you grow, as you get older as well. So like, for me, I felt like that was a bit late. Like if I don't know if I would have changed anything. I don't know if I'd done anything differently, because I came from an engineering background. For me, I would not change that for anything, because for me, I think it's going to make me wealthy. My mindset, the way I'm wired, the way I think, I'm solution orientated, is everything I learned from that, during that degree. Literally, I wouldn't change. So, but obviously, I don't know. But I just felt like I wish I'd known sooner what my earning capability was going to be in doing that. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Alfred, let me ask you a question. Do you think you could have climbed the corporate ladder as well as build the property portfolio?
Of course, the answer is yes, but it's at what rate, and what rate are you happy to accept? So yes, of course you can do both. You can build it on the side, obviously systemizing it, having a team in place. That can easily happen. It's just how quickly do you want to scale up and push it. Obviously, if I always say if your mind is split across multiple things, your energy is like split. So it's like you can only push something as far as the energy you're putting into it, basically. So obviously, if that's all you're focused on and that's all you're doing, hence why, like, coming out of corporate world, I've accelerated so much, because now my only focus is property. Whereas before, it's like I was doing it and on the side and trying to make things happen as well. So the effort's diluted. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that, mate. I'm with you, because I've been in a similar situation where you think you can have a business, you can run a property thing, but something is going to give and you'll be spread too thin, you know? And I think where you're, you know, where, what's that saying? Where attention goes, is it energy flows, or where attention goes?
I know money following attention. That's all I got to say to that one.
Where your attention goes, money flows, yeah?
Literally.
I like it.
Literally.
So, Alfred, let me take you back a few years, man. Tell me what it was like for you from the age of, say, being in high school to getting into university. What was high school like for you, or what was it like growing up? What was your family background like?
Yeah, so I'm originally I was born here, but I lived in Ghana when I was younger. So I'm Ghanaian. So for me, like high school times, so I wasn't like the cleverest person or like smartest person, whatever you call it. I was always hardworking. I always knew hardworking, if you put your mind to it and wanted to bet yourself, practice makes perfect. So I was always playing catch up, if I'm honest. Like I've never been the smartest in the room. I've just surrounded myself with people that are smarter than me, and always try to be the smallest fish in the room, basically, and try and learn from them and become as good as them. So that's how I've always been put out. That's how I was positioned back at school. Even now, like I still go with that and try and evolve, do better. And to be fair, like even if I look back now, I'm probably I in some cases I am in a better position than some people that I thought would be far way ahead of me, like in terms of where I am. But so I think I'm kind of in a way happy that things have turned out the way they are. I think like everything happens for a reason. Things just kind of fell in place. I wouldn't say I had my life even planned out like that. Like in school, I just kind of played to my strengths. So I knew I was good at maths. Science, among science, I was good at physics, so that's where I kind of played with. And then going into like sixth form, those are the subjects I focused on. I took on like politics, government politics as an extra thing, A level, to kind of tackle and see what that's about, because I was interested in like history and stuff. So that's what I did, and I kind of just played to my strengths to try and get me through high school and again into like A levels and get past my A levels and get into uni.
Tell me, what were you like as an individual growing up? Were you quite a well-behaved lad, or were you one of the boys, or what was it like for you as a teenager?
I think I think a lot of Africans can relate to this. So I wasn't one to kind of get into too much trouble. Don't get me wrong, I had parents' evenings and stuff. I would get in trouble and stuff, but I was never like in a bad crowd or anything like that. I think the fear of going home with my parents just being like upset or being disappointed in me. I just didn't want that. So I've always kind of been around good people and avoided any sort of bad friendship groups, things that I don't get me wrong, I knew bad people. I knew if I wanted to get in that circle I could, but I was so fearful of my parents and what they would think, the African thing of just bringing bad things to our name and blah blah blah. So it's like I was like, nah, that's not for me. Let me stay around. Oh, I know them. I'm gonna keep my distance. Thank you very much.
No, I hear you, man. I hear you. As an Asian person, I can relate with you totally. You know, you were more fearful of what your parents were waiting with behind that door when you stepped through that door, because you knew you'd be dodging a slipper or you'd be dodging a stick.
Literally.
So you knew you had to play whatever nonsense you were going to get onto. You had to make sure it was at a level playing field where your parents would only give you a bit of a shouting rather than a beating.
Yeah, literally.
And you know what? Taking it back, I remember when I was a teacher, I remember parents' evening actually sitting there.
Oh, the worst. Literally, I dreaded. I think anybody in general just dread. Oh, I don't know. Maybe you might be lucky, but I dreaded those days because however good my year was, there's always something the teacher would say. Oh, he's always chatting in my class, or he's texting on his phone. And they're just looking at me and I'm like, oh my days, what are they saying?
You know what I used to love about parents' evening, being the teacher giving the report, all the guys that used to give it big, because I worked in all of the East London schools and I worked in boys' schools. So particularly some of the African lads or the Indian lads, always giving it big. When it was time for parents' evening, you'll see the head down, their parents falling in. And I actually witnessed kids getting licks. I'm talking proper licks, like, an African dad beating his son. Every time I said something bad, there was another slap. There's another slap. And, secretly you're enjoying it because you're thinking, this is payback, you little shit. But
Mate, literally, I dreaded it, man, because every time I got home, the shouting began, the beatings began. I was like, oh my days. Like, I'm always praying for some sort of like the best result I could ever get. I know something to kind of sway things and just keep me good and not get shouted at when I get home. But it was never the case. I always got shouted at. There's nothing. I don't think there's any parent even I went to where I got home and everyone's like, oh, well done, son. It's a good one. Well done, keep going. No, there's always something they picked up on.
Yeah. Putting that aside, mate, let me ask you, did the kind of rules, the lessons that your parents had in place for you, is that something that you've carried forward into your professional life today?
Yeah, I feel like my parents were quite disciplined. So the discipline element of just even like certain things, like even chores at home, like in my house, you could not sleep past 7 a.m. in the morning. Impossible. Literally impossible. So like I think that home training where I've always been an early bird, like I've woken up early, I'm always doing things. I know I've got to do chores before I leave the house, if I go to school or whatever. On the weekends, I've got to do these things. So like that discipline alone, and just being able to wake up, do certain tasks before I even start, whether if it's a career or whatever, my business, that's been instilled in me. And I'm thankful for that. And just certain things of just being polite as well. Just these little things where you feel like they're not really important, but your parents have kind of instilled in you. And it's helped. It's helped with like just me as an individual person, and when I'm socializing with people, how to approach people, be of a place of help as well, giving value to people. Again, massive. If you're trying to get into some rooms, you got to come from a place of value, giving someone something, and the doors can open in ways which you would even have thought, just because of who you are and how you present yourself and how you approach things. So for me, those values there are just priceless.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. I think discipline, rules are good things, because they create habits. I think discipline, things done over and over again, create good habits. And good habits, I talk about it all the time. Little good habits, you put the compound effect into place, and before you know it, you've created a habit for life. And just moving something a little way this way for a whole year can mean you've started here and you end up there.
Literally.
And the same thing with a habit. You do a little bit of training every day. By the end of the year, you're going to be totally a different place to where you were at the start. So I hear you on that. I'm with you on that. I love the compounding effect, and I'm one for some good habits all the time, man.
Yeah, no, it's a game changer. Like I feel like when people struggle, if you just, I guess, a tip on like the whole kind of creating a habit, like you don't have to kind of, if you're trying to run the whole 10-mile thing, you don't start trying to hit 10 miles. You start with maybe half a mile a day, and then just see how you progress and just make little targets. So it's okay, let me I'll start to 1 mile, 2 mile over a week, and then do you know what I mean? You make those little compounding effects. Your body gets stronger, becomes easier, and the best thing of it is you start building confidence. Because I feel like confidence and that self-belief just shoots, and you're like, yeah, I can do this. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going, and that's all you're looking for. That momentum and that consistency to keep going, and everything will figure itself out after that.
Yeah. No, daily habits, little steps every single day, and you'll get to where you want to get to. Alfred, let me take you back into the corporate world for a minute, mate. So you've decided now that this, being a project manager for Jaguar Land Rover is not for you. How did you break the news to your parents, number one? Number two, how did you break the news to the people around you at work? And what were the opinions of people at work when you said, you know what, this career thing ain't for me. This 6-figure salary that I could be working towards ain't for me. I'm going out and I'm doing some property bits.
Yeah, so like the parents one was quite a funny one, because obviously they think, yeah, Alfred's set, his life is set, we're happy for him, he's good, got a good salary, good job, he's doing good, he's things are working well for me. Like they see the money coming in as well. So then for me to then one evening, I go back to London. So I'm from London originally, but I'm based in the Midlands at the moment. So go home one weekend and I'm like, oh, by the way, property stuff, I'm going on courses. By the way, I've just spent 24 grand on a course. My mum and dad just looked at each other and said, what? You done what? And I'm like, yeah. I was like, mum, dad, look, at the end of the day, it's my money one. Mum, you always told me, it's your money, do what you want. That's not my problem. Like, whatever you want to do with your money, that's on you. So I'm like, it's my money. At least you jumped to that, to what she's told me in her past. Like, if it's my money, I say what goes. And I'm like, if it's your money, you can do what you want with it. So I'm like, cool, it's my money. I can do what I want with it. But the thing that I love my parents, obviously, they know when I set my mind to something, there's very little they can do to change it. So all they can do is support and kind of push me to kind of follow whatever it is I want to do. Because them trying to say, oh, why did you do this? It's a non-start conversation. So they just said, you know what, we know this is something you're into. We know you're going to put in the work. So just make sure.
Come on, man! It can't have been that easy. Look, coming from an ethnic family, I want to hear the conversation. I want to know what your dad said to you.
No, literally, obviously they were like, oh, how would you give someone 24 grand? How would you just go and buy a house? And obviously all that stuff happened. But it's like I explained to them, look, yes, I can go buy a house, but then I put that money into a house. I still have no knowledge. I have no plan of being able to do more. Like there's still a knowledge gap which I'm missing. So for me, I'd rather I see it as literally the way I explained to him, like, look, for me, I saw it. The way I walked myself through it was it's like another uni degree. I'm reinvesting into myself. Look, I had a uni degree, got a good paying job. I'm betting on myself again to go and basically learn about property investing. And for me as well, it's just the fact that I wanted to acquire information from just one individual or a company, whatever, educational company, and just sit in classes and go through it like I did at uni, to then look to build something for myself. So that's the way I kind of explained to them. So look, I'm pretty much spending the same amount of money that I spent on a uni degree. Let's just go with it and see what happens. And they just kind of got to terms with it. Obviously, at the time, it's a shock for them because they're there. Obviously, they would have wished I give that money to them for that. And they could build a house in Ghana or something, like just towards a house in Ghana for me to go and put it in like a course. But it just you know what, it's like, it is what it is. It's on you. It's your money. So like, just make sure it pays off. That's all they could say. And in the work environment, I didn't tell them about me spending money on courses, but like, they just knew I'd started to go to seminars because I'd come from a seminar over the weekend. And I said, I was on a 3-day course, or even on a Friday. I'll take the Friday off. And I'll tell them, look, I'm going on a course, a property investment course for the next 3 days. So they knew. So they kind of knew I was looking at other avenues outside of work. But everyone was like, good on you. It's at the end of the day, like, it's opportunity out there, so why not? So they're quite supportive. And I guess it's judging your environment and seeing if they can be supportive of that. So I think you got to be careful of who you tell things to, because some people can just put some negative thoughts into your head, and the energy might be the same, and you just don't want that kind of negative energy around you. So you got to
100%,
be,
man. You
yeah,
got
you
to
got to be
protect your
careful.
space. You have to protect your space.
100%. I don't like sharing. I'll share my goals with people that are on the same wavelength. People that are like a bit fearful, maybe not the same space as me. They might start saying things in my head, which can then get me thinking and get into my system. I don't want to hear that stuff. I want someone telling you my goals are too small. What the hell are you doing? What are you waiting for? Push it up.
Alfred, your goals are too small. What are you doing?
Literally, that's the kind of energy I need. I need that kind of energy, man. It just elevates me, and I always want to be elevated. Like I want to do more. So yeah, that's what kind of happened in the space of my parents, and then the corporate world, me kind of informing them as well. But both crowds were supportive. They had nothing against me. They never stopped me or said, "Oh, what are you doing? It's not good." But obviously, they were fearful of a company taking that level of money from me. And I said, "Look, people do worse. People spend money on holidays." Another thing is like, look, I'm going to spend 24 grand in my lifetime. Whether I spend it today or I spend it in 4 years' time, I'm going to spend that money. I can spend, at this point, I was traveling like crazy. I was 4 times a year, I'm out of the country. So I'm probably spending on average 2K per holiday, easy. So that's 10 grand a year. So if I don't spend the money now, like for me, it's like, it was a no-brainer. Like I'm spending money, I afford to spend money on the luxury to have fun, but I can't spend money on bettering myself, to educate myself, to elevate myself. How does that not make sense to do? So it was, for me, it was like it was hard to, don't get me wrong, because I was emptying my account. So I was going to zero at this point to kind of, literally, I placed a bet on myself is the way I see it. Like,
so you at this point, you've left your job, which means you've lost your safety blanket of wages each month, and you spent all your life savings that you've got.
No. So this is no. So I did this during work.
Oh, okay, during work.
So
okay,
yeah,
got ya.
it's like a year, 2 years into corporate world. I think a year and a half into corporate world. I just emptied my account, said, let me chuck all this money. Because at that point, I had a safety net of, I'm a contractor, I'm still earning good salary, money's still coming in every month.
Yeah.
I haven't got any real responsibilities. I haven't got kids to kind of, obviously, I think I had a house at the time, or maybe just about to buy a house. Oh, no, sorry. I didn't have a house at the time. I was renting. So this is actually money. Yeah, this is actually money I was going to look to use to buy a house. And I said, no, I'd rather chuck this into the course, bet on myself, and I would look to create more money from work, other avenues, business, whatever. And that's what I did. Literally a year later, I managed to recoup the money back. So it wasn't a problem for me. Like, so it's a combination of both work and investing as well, to kind of get back that money I needed to be able to go buy my house first, and then start to look at investing into other assets.
Before we look at how the money worked for you, mate, I want to ask you a question. So £24,000 you spent on yourself, you invested in your own education. I'm one who's with you, man. I have spent money on my own education, and I like the way you think, where you said it's just like another uni degree. And that's exactly what I tell myself when I put a substantial amount down for some training. You know, at the moment, I'm on a mentorship program with Darren Hardy, actually the guy who's wrote The Compound Effect, you know, and that's what, £6,000 or £7,000 for the year. But again, for me, I feel if I got so much value from a book that cost me 11 quid, how much value am I going to get from working with someone for 42 weeks in the year, you know? And having him at my disposal to ask questions and to build me into the leader that I want to be for the future. So I'm massively with you, and I respect you for that, man, because there's not a lot of people that will put their money where their mouth is, because it seems to be you'll invest on luxuries and you have no problems. There's no resistance when you invest on a luxury, but there seems to be masses of resistance when you're when you're investing on yourself or your knowledge. So I want to ask you the burning question that probably everybody's thinking. Who'd you give that 24 G's to?
Yeah, I gave the company called, or now they're called 𝘂𝘃cie.
Legacy are good.
Yeah. At the time, then I called Asset Academy.
Okay.
And for me, I think at that time, so it kind of came from reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. So 𝘂𝘃cie were the affiliate of Rich Dad Poor Dad, so Robert Kiyosaki. And obviously my friend had researched online and he'd seen an event, a 2-hour seminar, and that's what got me into that circle. And then I went to the 3-day course. I was happy with what I was hearing. Then obviously there was a upsell of that into the advanced package. I was like, you know what? Yes, it was a hard decision to make, because like I said, I was emptying my account to zero. But I was like, for me, I was like, I'm going to make that money back. And if I can't make that money back, then I have problems anyways. 24 grand is not a lot of money, in my opinion. Obviously, at the time, it was precious to me, but for me, it was like, it's going in me. So it is what it is.
Did you run to the back of the room like a little girl?
No, actually, I was actually quite resistant. So at the beginning, because like I said, it was all I had. So it was like it took me a while. To kind of get it into my head, process it through my head, like sell it to myself. It's good someone selling me something, but if I need to sell it to myself. So I literally, as everything was going on, people running to the back, signing up during the day. I was probably maybe one of the last people to sign up.
Yeah,
because I still needed time to process what I'd heard and sell it to myself. Why this makes sense? Why I should bet on myself? Why it's not a big problem to spend that kind of money for the opportunity to potentially make more. And it's on me taking that action. And do I believe in myself? Yes. Have I always set something out and gone and achieved? The answer is yes. So this is the same thing. So So it took me a while actually I didn't run to the back. No, I wasn't one of the first. One of the last in the room to go to the back.
You know what? This leads me nicely onto a point I want to discuss with you. So this morning, actually, funny enough from what you're saying, that the resistance you had from signing up, I wrote 3 things in my journal that I learned this morning. Resistance will stop you from taking action. Resistance will stop you doing things you need to do. Resistance kills greatness.
100.
And it just fits so nicely how those are 3 things I wrote. I write things in my journal. I write things all the time. So my main topic this morning was resistance, because I felt myself as a person, there's been a lot of resistance recently with me as well. I've been resisting on doing stuff that needs to be done. I've been thinking, okay, you know what? Let me just go measure that house for the blinds. Let me just go do this. Let me just go do that. And ultimately, you got to ask yourself the question, what you're doing today, is it getting you closer to your goals, or are you just wasting some time fanning around a few bits of paper here and there? So I really appreciate you talking about that, man, because it's something that I was struggling with myself. And I think people need to realize that themselves, that resistance will stop you from doing things, little things like you think to yourself, you know what, let me just check my mailbox, or let me just check my WhatsApp. And all these little things are resistance. And it's a killer. It's a dream killer. It's a greatness killer. And it will stop you from achieving stuff. So it's great that you felt that as well when you were about to sign up.
Yeah, no, it's like I said, it's probably the biggest commitment out from my physical. Obviously, the uni degree is like you get it from the government. The government, you're taking a loan out, whereas this is your hard-earned money and you're letting it go. But yeah, for me, it was a no-brainer, man. It's a no-brainer.
And you know what the good thing is, Alfred? You're the 3rd person to mention 𝘂𝗃𝗃 on the J2 Hub podcast. There's been a few people that have mentioned 𝘂𝗃𝗃𝗃. So
because I think at the time as well, there's only a few, and obviously at the time there was only a few companies out there. So like I think I think there was Progressive and there was 𝘂𝗃𝗃𝗃, the big ones, like more widely known.
Bro, you're going on like you're 40 years old, that you've been around for years. Like back in my day, there was only 2 people.
Yeah, no, you know what I mean, man. Like a few years ago, but there's obviously now there's like loads of property educational companies, so that you can market around, look around. But for me, I went with the first company I saw. For me, it's about, do I like what I see? I like what I see. I don't need to compare. I could have gone and searched for other companies before making a commitment, but it's just, again, resistance, excuses for not progressing with what you want to do. If you like what you saw, the only reason why you want to walk out of the room is if you didn't like what you see. If you like what you saw, why we need to go and search to see there's another product elsewhere? Can I get it cheaper? All that stuff is irrelevant. Do you know what I mean? Price is what you pay, value is what you get. Obviously, after that, you got to take that action.
I love that.
So,
yeah, a lot of people think that just paying 24 grand down will make you a property millionaire. They forget the fundamental thing of having to take the damn action.
100%. And even for me, like I'd spent this money. You'd think, oh, this guy's gonna go and go and buy a property straight away, or go crazy. No. So because again, I'd done this during the corporate world, so I was trying to balance the two: learning property investment, building my confidence, my self-belief that I'm capable of going to do the stuff that I was learning. But I didn't actually start investing straight away into property. So the courses I was going on to, I went into a course about creative finance. And it kind of taught me about money, how money works, how to borrow money cheaply to make more. And obviously, me being me, like I'm starting to think, how can I implement this into my life? And I knew I was surrounded by people that had money. I knew I had opportunity to maybe do something, partner with people, make money. And that's exactly what I did. Like the first year and a half, 2 years, I was investing. I was borrowing money from people I knew, my friends, work colleagues, to invest into events. I knew I had connections, promoters that did events, university events, or even like just normal nightlife events where they would hire eyes to come perform. They would charge high tickets prices, and we'll do an event, and we were making a killing. That's how I recouped back my 24 grand. I literally borrowed money.
Are you serious? That was actually going to be my next question. How did you get that money back? So it was through some bashment events, some reggae events, some Afrobeat events? What was going on? Tell me, man. I didn't know this about you.
But yeah, so I've always been in like nightlife. Like I've always known people like promoters that do events. So I always stay connected to those guys, and I knew it was a lucrative business. But obviously, that business it's about track record, knowing people, connections. So I'd come to Coventry. I said, I know Coventry has a good university in terms of like nightlife, Warwick as well. There must be a promoter in this city. So I was sitting in the barber shop, and obviously the flyers and stuff were flying around because it's like I'm in the student area. And I seen an event. I was like, who the hell is the promoter? And let me find out. I got their number, messaged them on WhatsApp, like, oh yeah, hi, I'm not interested in your event, but I'm looking at maybe talking about investing in some of your events in the future. I see you're doing, I don't know who was it? I think it was Krypton Conan they're doing an event with. And I was like, oh, let me see your future events, who we got in the pipeline, what money do you need, what kind of capital do you need to kind of do these events? And if we start talking, it's like, okay, cool. What kind of returns can we get? What can we do? Let's I'll bring the money to the table. Obviously, you have the contact, you've got the experience, you're established in this area. Let's work together. And that's what I did. And I got the proposal together. I went to friends, work colleagues, like, look, you've got money sat around. I need 20K, 15K, whatever it is. And I'll go borrow the money, pay them high interest, like 1% a month, which is deemed quite high for them, obviously earning money in the bank, not really doing much with it. They're like, yeah, that sounds amazing. Let's do it. And we'll go and do these events, make good amounts of money. But over time, I was like, I got to a realization that I started to get to like 50K. Like one of our freshest events, we invested 50K into the event. So I got to level out, borrowing that level of money. It's like, you know what? I could now start borrowing this money and using it to buy property, which provides me income rather than the lump sums we're getting from the events, which is great. But at the end of the day, if the event doesn't happen, we don't make no money. And there's all this areas of doubt of if the event goes wrong for whatever reason, or there's a fight or something happens.
Or it's shut down, yeah.
Shut down, all of that. So it's a high risk thing, but the reward is the high risk is equal to high reward. So it's one of those games you have to play. But luckily, that's what I did for a short period of time and built my credibility in terms of borrowing funds. And then I started to say, you know what, I've got to the point, I've got the education, I know what I'm doing, I've got the network around me to support me to kind of dive into property now, and even on the buy-to-let level, at the HMO level, and just go into that.
Oh man, I love that, bro. That is so good. So you learned this creative finance through the legacy course. This is through the legacy course, yeah?
Yeah.
And then you go and put that into an event, like a a night out event, and you make money back from. That's sick. Hats off to you for that one, man. And that's how you recouped your initial money. Yeah,
together with obviously working as well. I was fortunate. I was earning a good salary. I could save money from that as well. But yeah, literally recoup that back, create a deposit to buy a house, and then after I bought the house, then I was like, okay, cool. I'm settled. I know my finances. Everything's working out. Now let's start investing.
Do you mind me asking, Alfred, how much was the first amount you raised? Not for the property, just in general.
That is, I think, maybe like 10K.
10K.
Yeah, 10K.
Would you say you need the same amount of effort to raise 10K compared to 100K, or is there a different level of work that comes in?
Obviously, it's a bit different now in the sense I've built a personal brand, so the personal brand kind of speaks for itself. So in a way, it's fully on the same level. Because it comes down to trust. I don't care how big the number is. Someone's going to lend you because of a deal, particularly, or it's about you. Do they trust you? Do they like who you are as a person? So I wouldn't say it's any different. Obviously, depending on who you're speaking to. For some people, 10 grand, it could still be hard to get 10 grand out of someone, depending on their level of wealth, how much that 10 grand is compared to their level of wealth. So it's the same conversation, but it just depends on an individual. But in terms of raising the funds itself, it's the same. 10, 100 grand, £1 million, it's all the same.
It's just the number changes and the zeros get bigger.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. Alfred, let's talk about your first deal. Okay, so you're at this point now where you've recouped your 24 grand, you got your savings coming back in for your job. How do you structure your first deal? And let's talk the listeners through what the first deal was.
Yeah, so it was a HMO deal, and again, people was like, crazy. What the hell are you doing? Why the hell are you starting for HMO? And for me, it's about starting with what do you want to get out of property? What's your goals? What are you trying to achieve out of this? And for me, I was earning a good salary, so it's like the buy-to-let stuff, great security, love the strategy. But for me, it didn't correlate to what I earn. So it's like I would need 20 properties to kind of replace my income. And it's like, come on, am I really going to try and buy 20 properties just to kind of replace my income? No. So how can I kind of bridge the gap? And for me, HMO is obviously a better strategy in terms of the cash flow it brings. Yes, more stressful, more headache, more experience, but okay, those are problems. How do you resolve them? So yeah, you need more experience. Okay, who can I get to kind of bridge the experience gap? I can hire a construction company to kind of come in, leverage their experience, because we've done these type of products before, and not have to literally know the ins and out. Yes, of course, you have to know some information, but again, through your network, having that support system around you, you can bridge that gap again. So it's about any hurdles I had regarding doing HMOs. Who can I tap into? Whether it's paid, free, through a friendship, I'm tapping into that to kind of gain the information I need to be able to go and build that. So for me, that's how I was confident in going into HMOs starting out. I leveraged people around me. I networked my ass off to understand how HMOs work, floor plans, how to create the space, how to take a building from maybe 2-3 bedrooms, whatever, into 5, 6, 7, whatever it is. Get familiar with that. So there was a lot of research before going into it, for sure. But once I knew everything, I didn't know every single little detail. I just need to know enough to have the confidence and self-belief to go start and step into that space. Mm-hmm. And that's what I did. So yeah, so HMO was what I stepped into. It was a conversion. It was actually an old retiring landlord who had this HMO which was out of spec. He was just looking to retire. He just wanted to sell the house. He didn't really care anymore. So it actually had about 5 bedrooms, or still technically even 6, mm-hmm. but there weren't 2 room sizes. And yeah, so realistically, if you were to even maybe take it as it is, it's probably 5 rooms which maybe had the right size to be able to let out, obviously with the updates.
Do you mind me asking what the background of the landlord was?
I actually have no idea.
You never met him?
I met him. He was a Scottish guy. He just looking to just sell, and he had a few properties, he was now at the end of his cycle. So if you look at the whole life cycle of maybe property investing, mm-hmm. he's gone through all of it, scaled up, had a portfolio, and now he's just looking to sell off and looking just to relax and not have the headache of dealing with tenants and all that stuff, properties. So he's selling off his portfolio basically, and this is one that I picked up and I was interested in. Mm-hmm. So purchase price was
Sorry, before you go into the purchase price, Alfred, how did you acquire this? Was this some legwork you did, or was this through an agent or sourced?
Yeah, so it was a Anthony. So it was sourced agent, whatever you want to call it. So it was a guy that I'd met at a PIN network. Again, network. Your network helps you. He knew I was interested in getting into HMOs. And again, I wanted to find someone in the area that kind of knew what they're doing to learn from them. Mm. So he helped me. He helped me get this one actually.
You know what they say: your network is your net worth.
Yeah, and obviously through that, I built a relationship with the agent I bought from as well. Mm-hmm. So I got introduced to the landlord, the agent. So for me, I'm a sociable person. I'm always chit-chatting and just trying to build relationships. So even though Anthony Guy was helping me with this property, I still wanted to I met the agent, build a relationship with him, because I knew I'm probably going to come back to you, because obviously if I bought one off you, then you're going to like me, you're going to respect me, feel like I can deliver. So that was key for me as well. And then, yeah, so it took a while to get over the line, because in the background, I was trying to build the funds up, trying to recruit the money back from the events. So I had to time in a way where we'd finish freshers, so just put time into it. So freshers happened in September. We chucked 50K into this event, pretty much go through freshers. Obviously, Halloween, November times, good time to kind of do events as well. Come into Christmas, again, just before we exit Christmas, and then January as well. So the money was pretty much being recycled in that, in those events, until like I'd completed on the purchase in February, but I got the offer accepted, I think October. ish. So I had to kind of store things a bit and just keep things going. And
some creative lying, was there?
Literally. And that's how I met the landlord, because he was getting pissed off, like, what's going on? Why is this taking so long? What's the hold up? And I had to kind of calm his nerves down and say, look, I'm looking to buy this property, not messing you around anything, just sorting one or two things out. And then finally, yeah, I got the keys to the property. And yeah, for me, I was still learning. I hadn't figured every single thing out. In hindsight, like just the big learnings through that. For example, the building control guy that I'd hired, I didn't realize you had to wait 5 days to get the permission to be able to come on site. Mm-hmm. So we had put the request in. They were in on site the next day. But what we didn't realize was because I'd gone private with the building control, the council had come in to kind of see what was going on. And they told the guy to get off site. Why are you here? We haven't given permission to be here. So, yeah, what were you doing here? And now I was forced to work with the council on building control side of things. So again, this is something that I kind of dabbled into and found out. And obviously now I've implemented moving forward. I know what I'm doing. So just kind of arranging things in a timely fashion. Same with the build team. Like, it was kind of rushed because I'd left the whole, like, getting quotes, trying to procure a team to come together to kind of do the works. So again, I'd had a team. Last minute decided I wanted to kind of explore other options as well, and decided to move away from that team to go with another team because they weren't comfortable doing the loft conversions. They didn't have someone in the team to be able to do that. So that was the reason. So initially, the idea was actually to keep as a 5-bedroom HMO and renovate as is. But I decided to kind of go a bit bigger with it, to go into the loft, do a rear extension, because I felt like that's the real opportunity. The numbers could improve. So the plan was kind of evolving. I didn't have, and obviously now it's different. Now I know day one what I'm going to do if I even step into the door. But with this one, I was kind of learning as I went along. And so the deal kept evolving from a 5-bed to a 6-bed plan, which involved going into loft and doing a 3-meter rear extension as well. And for me, that fit as a better end goal.
Do you know what I don't get, Alfred? Yeah, just to pull you up on something. People think that they can just add value to a property by doing internal things. That's never really registered in my head. I always think, like, obviously to add value, you need to add something on. So it's good that you spotted that, because adding 3-meter extension on, you physically added a space on that wasn't there. So that has some kind of value, or you've opened up the loft and created a space in a loft. So you've added value there. What I don't get is when people buy a house and say, it's a 4-bed, I've converted it into a 6-bed. I haven't structurally changed much, but I've added value. No, you haven't technically added value.
And just if you're going to revalue on your property on a bricks and mortar basis, it's very hard if the next door property has the same floor space as yours, and you've just all you've done is change yours into like a more HMO, so add the fire doors, fire alarm systems, all that stuff, and maybe new kitchen, en suites in the rooms. Yes, obviously that stuff adds value, but they're still going to say, well, next door is this much. You can't tell me now yours is like a 200K more because you've added some en suites in there and you've put some fire alarms, smoke alarms. They're like, look, I mean, they're going to struggle to kind of appreciate the uplift that you put into it, or the work that you put into the property. So in my opinion, the real true value you can add is change of use, so class planning gain, and increasing the floor space of a property. Mm-hmm. That's how you truly create real. Because at that point, they can't tell you, or there's no uplift. Like, what do you mean? Next door is 20 meters smaller than mine, like square footage. Like, so what do you mean? Like, there's no uplift. Do you know what I mean? So there's more of an argument and true change in the property and the way it looks. So I always say, go in, try and you plan it, whether it's through planning, whether it's through changing floor space in terms of increasing the floor space, whether it's side extension, rear extension, adding a cellar. In London, creative stuff for doing double basements. In London, floor space goes a long way.
Yeah, I'm with. Totally. I mean, you've been to my latest HMO and you saw that basement. Now, you know, that is a usable space if you wanted to put a low down sofa in there. Yeah. And that is that's about 15 square meters, 12 to 15 square meters. Now, if you put that in monetary terms, that's quite a lot of money added to the property as a usable space. And the same thing with the kitchen. I mean, I did exactly what you did halfway through the project when I had to sack my old builder. I thought, you know what? I'm going to add this 16 square meters extra to the kitchen because it's going to make the house a hell of a lot
Massive
different from
difference.
everywhere else, and it's going to add the value. So I feel people, when you're going into the HMO strategy, you need to think about little things like this, because people are like, oh, well, you know, I've got the minimum 19 square meters that I need. That will do. I'll get away with it. It's not always about the minimum.
Yeah, I agree. It's not always I'm providing more space than I need to. Like, I can choose to have more rooms in the property if I want to, but it's not about just getting people in there. It's about creating a product that people appreciate, love the space. Like, it's homely. It's like co-living. That's what you want to call it. So it's spacious. It's not crammed. So I think if you can add space, provide the space. People want space. People appreciate space. People pay you premium for space. So just think of that as well. But yeah, so just kind of numbers wise, so 225, 225 purchase, 88k on the refurb. Again, quite an extensive refurb. So loft conversion, rear extension, all en suites in every single room. Obviously new kitchen, and pretty much back to brick as well. I'll say 80% back to brick. Some places were preserved. The plaster we thought was okay. Just try and save some costs, I guess, as well. So I think for me that was a good start. I actually haven't refinanced this yet. So this is obviously when all the refinance was all happening, when the market was like, people were like, oh, what's it called? The whole caveat around COVID and knowing the future demand of the what property price is going to be like in the future. I wanted to wait. I waited. I'm still waiting. I'm waiting to kind of, again, just get the cash flow in. And what I'd done as well in parallel was getting a planning game to have 7 people in the property.
Okay.
So I've got 𝘂𝗃 generous planning on that property as well.
So what have you got? It's a 6-bed. So what, you got 1 bed as 2 occupants? Yeah,
the loft space is big. It's like 15 plus, I think more. Like the floor space is 20 meters squared, but livable space about 15 meters squared.
Okay.
Which occupy 2 people. So got the planning game for that. So now it's 7 occupant property, which then is classed as 𝘂𝗃 generous, and it's not no longer C4 HMO. So again, it's a unique product, and which can then allow me to open the realms of commercial revaluation and stuff as well. So I've just waited as well because I didn't have the experience to get commercial mortgage, and for me, I wanted to kind of pull more money out. So I've left it. I've just money's parked in there. It's annoying because I've got deals, two more 7-bed HMOs I can do with the money.
So let me ask you a question. What do you think it's worth?
Just under 400k.
Just under 400k, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And have you got investor finance still tied up in this?
Yeah, so I do. But the way I see it is all my deals are structured on a long-term base. So they're all on a journey with me. So when I go in pitching, or however you want to call it, having a conversation with my investors, are like, look, I'm on a journey to kind of build some portfolios. You obviously have money sat in your bank account. And again, it's the people I'm speaking to. So these people are natural savers. They don't have time to build wealth for themselves. They just get money, put it in the bank. They've got a family. They want to focus on their career, their families. So they actually appreciate this conversation when I'm like, or I'm coming to them saying, look, rather than leave the money in the bank, I can buy some property, renovate them, increase the value, and I'm able to give you interest on your money, rather than just pretty much leave it then where the money's pretty much going down to zero. Not literally, but it's going down in value. So
mate, it's going to be negative before you know it.
So here's an opportunity to kind of come with me on a journey. These people already know, like, and trust me, and hence why they're happy to work with me. So all of them are like, we start for 12 months. They just renew their investment, and we keep going. So yes, the money's tied up, and I haven't got to pay anybody back. There are some I'm starting to pay out early this year, which is fine. Not problem. I've still got money around me to kind of pay them back. But I'm getting new investors aboard anyways. I've got new deals coming through. So it's not a problem at all.
So this project, you're in for just a tad over 300, yeah? So you're about 313. How much of that is investor finance?
So I had, so this one, there's some of my money in there. So good 20k, I'd say was my money. And the remainder, so with this, obviously the refurb money, all of that pretty much came. So a good 100k, so I had 20-ish went towards the deposit as well. And then the rest, the refurb was pretty much investor finance as well into that project.
So you got a good 270k is investor finance sitting in that deal?
No. So I took, so this one is where I did differently. So it's I've got a mortgage currently on this property.
Okay.
And then what I've done is I'd borrowed the refurb money. So deposit money I'd put together, sorted, put it into that. Then I'd got investor finance to do the whole entire refurb.
Okay.
Over a year.
Mm-hmm.
So literally what I've done is I'm just waiting to kind of refinance and pull money out. But the plan is to recycle that cash anyway. It's not going back to them. So I mean, it's like happy days. Luckily, in my case, I've got investors who are happy to kind of go again. And even if they weren't, I would have looked to replace them with other investors who might have been in the same position, want to get a better return.
And where are you with the return rate as a percentage?
6-10%.
Okay. Alfred, it might sound like I'm asking a lot of prodding questions. The reason why I'm asking you this is because I want everybody listening to see that, look, this was your first deal and you've literally gone out there and you got the 90K for the refurb. You know, you've got your savings, you've put your skin in the game by buying the property, you've got the 90K. And I just want to show people that this is perfectly doable if you plan this and you think about it, and you can raise the money, and it doesn't have to always be raised from the bank or bridging or, you know, angel finance. You can go out there and find people in your network. And I say it all the time, that uncle that you see at the parties that dresses a little bit odd, or you see that auntie that never changes her shoes, has been driving the same Mercedes for 15 years, they are the people you want to be tapping up. Or places of worship. I found in a temple, I know people that raise finance through churches, you know, because those people...
I want to tap into that sector. There's too much money sat around. They don't even know what to do with it. They're looking for opportunities. That church thing.
You want to tap into the rogue pastor churches. You know, them ones where, you know when you get off of this podcast, do this. Go and check out Rogue Pastors. There's a video on YouTube, yeah. And I can't believe some of these guys that are rolling in the peas that they're. I'm talking private jets. I'm talking yachts. And you got your congregation, you got your members paying for all this.
Yeah. They have too much money. There's cash flow like that. That's a business model that some churches can. In America, some churches over a weekend will make £1 million.
It's mental. It's mental.
It's crazy. And so then you still question. So what do they do with that $1 million after? Well, guess what? They invest it. They look for opportunity to put that money into to get it working. Or they might. In some cases, they do generally splash that money as well. The ones that are like rogue, like you're saying. So it's one of those things. But yeah, a bit off topic, but relevant still.
No. But just to add to that point, that investment I find is all around you. You need to talk the talk. Go out there and talk to people. And one thing you said when you came over to our HMO training day was that you don't actually present the whole deal to someone. You just tell them that you need the money and it's going into a property deal. Do you want to invest? I love that about you, because you're literally saying to them, hey, this is me. This is what I do. You want to work with me? Then I'll tell you about the deal. I don't need to tell you about the deal up front. And I actually took a little nugget away from you when you said that, because I had someone who reached out to me and he had about 300K to invest. I asked him for his email address so I could send him some information. They didn't want to give me the email address until they knew the return on the investment. I cut the deal off straight there. I said, that's fine. We don't need to talk any further. I respect you. Perfect. Thank you so much. And suddenly, off the back of that, you then start getting a picture that a bank statement is coming in, like they're trying to tempt you. They got this kind of piece sitting around. It's like, okay, I want to pick the right person to work with. I need to ask you some questions. It's not just, oh, you got the money. Wait a minute, I'm bringing a value. I think my side of the bargain is a lot more, because you might have the peas, but you don't know what to do with them. I know exactly what to do with them. So I love that about you, where you said you tell them about an investment opportunity and you don't actually present no deals to them. Whereas I know people who will give you a 20-page glossy pack saying, this is what I do, blah, 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 blah.
That stuff, for me, I think, because I've spoken to hundreds of people in terms of raising finance. My conversion rate is probably like maybe 10% of that. So it's like, now I've got intuition. Like, I just know who my time wasters are, people that are not going to invest in me. Like, so I just know by the way you talk, the questions you ask, how you're typing, like literally what you're saying to me, I just know from that whether you're going to invest in me or not. And I don't go in talking about a deal. I just talk about the principle of, you have money sat in the bank, which isn't earning you nothing. Here's an opportunity whereby I can give you a return on your money, which is better than what you're currently getting. Are you interested? Yes or no? And if you are, great. Can you show me some proof of funds? Because again, I'm straight to the point. I don't care how you want to take it. I just put the whole, I frame it again in the sense, look, a lot of people want to work with me. They see what I'm doing on social media. They see, they love what I'm doing, so they want to work with me. But at the same time, that's a lot of people coming to me. So I want to kind of just vet my people I'm speaking to make sure they are in a position to be able to move forward. Because again, to be frank, there's no point us having a conversation. You're telling me you've got 200K stuff in your property. That money isn't readily available. Yes, okay, I want to have a conversation with you, but it's like, you're not ready to invest yet. So we can have the conversation when you're actually in a position where you can invest. And that's the way I see it. Just to kind of filter the people who've got money ready to go, and people that might have money in the future, who I'm not pushing away, don't get me wrong, they're still going into a database where I'm going to have a touch point in the future to see where they are with their finances. Are they ready to invest yet? But I'm just literally talking about how much you have to invest, what kind of returns work for you, or would you like to gain on that money if you were to loan it out, and how long could you let the money go for? And that's what, and people, when people come in, I've had investors, people that I've raised money from, they've only asked me those 3 questions. How much you need, how long for, and what's my return? And I love it when I come. Literally, I spoke to a guy in Dubai like a week ago. He came in the investor call was 15 minutes short. He's seen my Instagram, he's seen my stuff. He saw me posting about a project, and he goes, "Oh no!" I said that something about getting funds or making my money work harder for you. So he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm interested." So I got on a Zoom call with him. Literally, the conversation was just tell me a bit about yourself, what you're doing. He told me a bit about himself, what he's doing in Dubai. Then he goes, "Okay, cool. So like, how much you're looking for?" Literally, the questions after that was, "How much you're looking for? What's my return?" And then, yeah, how does it work? Is that like a loan agreement in place? I just send money to you, and that's like just took me through the process, and that's it. There was no talks about, oh, what's my ROI on the deal? What's my person property for? Like none of that. They don't even need to know that stuff, because at the end of the day, I can sell you an idea of, yes, the deal is this is the much money I'm going to make. But if that doesn't happen, can I come back to you and tell you that, oh, by the way, because I didn't achieve my numbers, I've now lost your money? The answer is no. So the conversation is rather, you're lending me this money, whatever happens, if I use the money, don't use the money, the deal goes great, doesn't go great, I'm still going to give you back your money and your return. The trust is what I'm trying to build here. That's the conversation. I frame it in that. And that's all I want to achieve out of an investor call or a WhatsApp message or Instagram DM. That's all I'm trying to achieve. Because people that come and ask details or send me some more details, I say, okay, so what would you like to know? Tell me, what would you like to know? Because in my mind, it's very simple. It's a loan agreement. You borrow money for a period of time, you get a return on that money. That's pretty much all you need to know. If you want to check my credibility, my YouTube is there, my Instagram is there. You can come and physically visit my projects, but I'm not going to share a brochure with you to try and sell you on a piece of paper. Like, that's not going to get you to invest in me. I'm the reason why you want to invest in me. If you're sliding in my DMs, I'm hoping you've seen what I'm doing, and hence why you're looking to work with me. You can't slide in my DMs and ask for my experience. It doesn't make sense. Like, why did you get my DMs if you're doubting my experience? So I try and flip it back on his head and say, oh, okay, cool. You're talking about you're interested, great. Clearly, for you to kind of type the words I'm interested, you already sold on what I'm doing. It's now a matter of, can you trust me with your funds? And if you can, great, let's do the deal. If you can't, it's fine. There's no problems. I've had people show me their money in the bank account, and yes, they've got money, but I know they're not going to invest in me because of the way they've spoken afterwards. Because they're talking about property deals, or tell me about this deal. We've gone from talking about money to now talking about this deal. Like, are you here to know about the deal because you want to get in my deal, or like, are you here to borrow me money? Do you know what I mean? And obviously, there's a fine line with it, because don't get me wrong. Yes, in a way, some people know roughly what you're doing, but they don't need. People start asking like details. Like, mate, I can tell you any numbers I want to tell you. I can show you numbers, but it doesn't mean anything. So I come back to the point.
Let me ask you a question, Alfred. Has anybody ever said to you, "You're rude, man. I don't want to work with you anyway"?
Yes. And I've said fine. I at that point, it's just when I send a voice note. If it's like through WhatsApp messages, because I always filter through like messages to start with. Before I get on a phone call, a Zoom call, you're not even going to get my time if you can't get through a text message or a WhatsApp message, whatever, or a DM. So I filter that. Literally, I get straight to the point. Take it or leave it. I'm just so blunt. It is what it is. Time is precious. Do you know how many people slide in my DMs asking questions? Or let's work together. Let's do a JV. I told them JV is not for me. It's just not for me. On a larger scale, great, I'll do that. But on this type of project, it's not for me. I'm offering fixed return. If that's something you're interested in, let me know. We can work together. But I've done that, and some people took it the wrong way and said, "Oh, some guy actually sent me someone else's brochure. Said this is what you meant to send." if you're seeking investment. I'm gonna go on a voice note and said, look, I appreciate that's what others do. Personally, this is how I work. I vet every person I speak to. Everybody has money. There's no shortage of money out there. And I just want to know that people I'm speaking to are in a position to invest and are actually genuinely willing to invest with me. And until I can understand that or get the confidence that person is, I don't want to invest my time into having a conversation about something, because I've done it in the past. I spent hours on the phone call to someone, and the person had no intention of investing in me. They just wanted to pick my brains, how my deal works, how I'm structuring it. I'm like, what's that got to do with you borrowing me money?
Yeah. No, I hear
and
you.
I'm going a bit deep into it, but it's a big topic for me, man. Honestly.
No. I feel you, man. I feel you. I know you're quite passionate about this as well, because you know what? I have a 6-page brochure that goes out.
Yeah.
But I tell you why I do this. I'm like you. I'm a conversation person. I like to build relationships, and I like to speak to people and see if I can work with them. But recently, I've started dropping this brochure out because what my CRM system allows me to do is it allows me to see how much time someone spent on that brochure, how many times they've opened it, and what pages they are looking at. Now, I know before I call them, if they sat on page 4 for a couple of minutes, they're interested, because that's the page that talks about the returns, how the loan agreement works. And it's me psychologically trying to work out what's going on in their mailbox, so they can't feed me shit. They can't say, oh, James, I haven't seen it. I can say, you opened it 21 times and you read page 4 for 9 minutes. You know, and then suddenly they're like, oh shit, this guy knows what I'm doing. You know, this guy's not wasting his time. So the only reason why I send the brochure out is so I haven't done it recently, but I do it so I can monitor what's going on. And again, it's like you filter out the time wasters, filter out the people that are just there to pick your brains, and go with the people that are genuinely the ones that, you know, don't have time to make their money grow. They just want to give it to someone, watch it grow, and move on to the next deal.
Yeah, and I think it's about finding, I think Americans call it finding, like coming up with your avatar. Who's your ideal investor? Right, literally write it down. My ideal investor is a busy working professional, family orientated is even a plus, career orientated. I know they have no time to look on the stock market. I know they have no time to look at business opportunities. They just want to kind of park and forget. They should park some of their wealth. They'll give it maybe 25% of what they have around them. Here you go, make me some money. Thank you very much. In a year's time, I don't even speak to my investors. I genuinely don't speak to my investors, and I love that. It's like they trust me to get on with it. The social media stuff is there. If they're keeping tabs, I don't know if they're keeping tabs. I have no idea. It doesn't concern me. I know I'm going to give them back their money. I know they're still getting the interest off me. So it's like it's working. So do you know what I mean? And for me, it's beautiful, and that's my ideal investor. And just one last point before I move on. I've had people, when someone starts kind of throwing the security thing on, especially on the lower investment end, for me, that's a red flag. You're someone I don't want to work with simply because you have a fear of losing that money, which then leads me to feel that that's probably all you have. I don't want to take someone's of all they have. I want, if you're borrowing me 20, 30K, I want it to be 15%, 20% of all you have. So if something does go wrong, so for example, the current climate, nobody knows where it's going to go. I know my current investors aren't going to call me to say, Alfred, is my money safe? When COVID happened, not a single one of my investors called me to say, is my money safe? And I appreciate them even more, because I knew they're people that this money is something they can live without. And that's who I want. Because any investment is a risk. Don't let anybody tell you different. Yes, I have no intention of not giving the person back their money. I'm going to do whatever it takes. If I have to even sell my assets to give back the money, I'm doing that. But the point is, like, there's still that element of things can happen. So you shouldn't give someone your life savings and money potentially depend on for just in case something does go wrong.
Yeah,
you just can't predict the future. Do you know what I mean? So just that tip as well for anyone listening.
No, that's a very good tip, man. Alfred, before I wrap this up, I want to do a quick little exercise with you. So I noticed this weekend you posted, can you raise £100,000 this weekend?
Yes.
So I want to do a little role play, hey, man. Yeah. So here I am, Mr. James. I've got the 100K that you want. Come on, let's do the role play. Sell this to me. I'm your investor here on the podcast. Tell me what you're going to do for me. Sell it to me as if you don't know me.
Listen, and for me, it's actually the other way around. I don't need to sell it to you. What I post out there is what sells it to you. So I don't go into, like, I'm not going to go to James, I have this opportunity, would you want to invest? No, I just post the stuff out. I kind of make it open-ended so that you come to me.
Listen,
So now
you ain't getting out of this easily. So let me rephrase that. So your network, somebody in your network has said, "Oh, James is looking to invest his money. He's seen a little bit of your stuff on the social media. He's good to go.
Yes.
He wants to have a conversation. We're having that conversation."
All right, cool. So James, I'm told you're looking at investing your money for a return. So tell me, what are your goals? What are you trying to achieve with your money? Let's start with that. What are you trying to achieve with your 100K?
Oh, well, I'll tell you what it is, Alfred. I've got all this money sitting here. You know, I've had a corporate job for a long, long time, and I just don't know what to do with it, mate. You know, I'm earning good money. I earn about 12 grand a month. It goes in there, and it's just getting saved. I don't know. You know, I want my money to grow. I want something for my kids, but I don't just want to be parking cash up. That's where I am with it.
Okay, good. And obviously, currently now, what are you currently earning on that money?
Well, not a lot, mate. You know, the banks are giving me 0.0 something. It's just sitting there. It's doing nothing for me.
And if you were to let go of that money, how much proportion of that money would you be willing to kind of let go for a period of 12 months, for example?
I think I could trial you about £75,000, I say, you know.
Okay, and then what would you want in return for that? What would work for you?
Well, I don't know, about 12%.
So 12%, it's a great return. Don't get me wrong, but me personally, it's not something I offer to my investors. On a 75K investment, I would normally offer around 7 to 8%. That's where I would position myself, and just simply because the deals that I work with, that's what I can safely say I can return to you. So I don't want to take the 12%. I don't want to take your money off you and promise you I'm going to pay you 12% on your money, especially when a deal doesn't allow me to pay that 12%. Because at the end of the day, I want to make sure your money's safeguarded. So for me, if you want to work with me, the 7 to 8%, we can definitely make that happen. I don't want to use the word guarantee, but the security in that, and I'm more comfortable with taking that money and pretty much be able to reassure you that I can get your money back to you in your safe hands for that period of time. So if that works for you, then more than happy to kind of...
Alfred, if I could give you the money, say in 48 hours, could you go to 9%?
Literally, I would love to. Like I said, it's the deal. I don't want to make promises regarding me being able to promise a 9% return. But what I can do is we can go on the 7%. If the deal works out at the end of the year and things go great, I can look to giving that 1 extra percent to kind of show my gratitude for you working with me. So if that works for you, then you'll be happy to deal.
But you just said 7 to 8%, so I automatically thought I'd be getting 8%.
You can get the 8%, but if you want to stretch the boundaries, I can't commit to that extra 1% above the 8%, but I can commit to 8% return over 12 months. And if things go well and it's a good year, by all means, I can show my gratitude by offering that 1% extra if that makes you happy. But it would need to be a going in point of max 8%. Okay,
and when does the interest roll up at the end? I give you a lump sum, you give me a lump sum back?
So ideally, I would want to obviously service the repayment at the end of the term. But at the end of the day, it works for you. What works for you? So you got to let me know. If you're someone that doesn't need the money, the cash flow from it coming in every month, then I'd want to roll it up to the end of the year and pay all of it up at the end. Again, if you feel like you maybe want some money coming in, just kind of see things coming in, we can structure maybe monthly or quarterly or something that works for you. So I'm happy to kind of agree terms on that. I'm not too fast on that.
No, so, I'm happy to roll it up to the end.
All right, perfect. So when do you want me to? I guess when are you in a position to proceed with this? I can send you the loan agreement to show you a draft of what the proposal there is, how the loan agreement's, what its dates.
Send me the loan agreement over and let's get this done. All
right, cheers. Thank you, James. Nice working with you, mate.
Oh, wow. Look at that, mate. Look at that. Now, I was genuinely sold there, mate. I was genuinely sold. I liked how you tactfully answered some of the questions around interest, especially where you said you would love to go to that amount, but you can't because the deal doesn't allow you, and I don't want to lose your money or promise you something that can't happen. I liked how you used the word guarantee in there. That was superb as well. I can't guarantee you. So you've really managed my expectations before we've even gone any further.
And that's the aim. You're trying to manage expectation, trying to keep them informed of what can happen and what the possibility is. So just you're being upfront. That's the way I put it.
Alfred, I've loved it, mate. We have gone an hour and 10 over we're 10 hour and 10 minutes on the podcast already. I think you've dropped some massive value there. I'm going to wrap it up here. And I know we do this Sunday. We started something new every Sunday where me, Alfred, and Craig get together on Clubhouse, another new app where we're going to be talking about all things HMO. So just watch out for that on our social media. And lastly, Alfred, I want to ask you a question. If you could go back to an 18-year-old Alfred and give yourself one bit of advice, what would that advice be?
Read. That's the only thing I feel like that changed my life massively. I didn't start reading books like business books, personal development books till I was the age 23, I think, 22, maybe 22 ish. And that's where I evolved. I started to make big leaps. I started to learn things. So like for me, reading, massive. I wish I'd read some books that I'm reading now at the age of 10, 5, whatever. I mean, I could start reading.
I noticed we're actually going through the same book at the moment. I saw it on your social media, Your Next 5 Moves.
Yeah, Next 5 Moves. Yeah.
I'm actually 3/4 of the way through that one as well.
No, good girl. I love 𝗵𝗵𝗺𝗃, the guy. He is one of the best persons to kind of like explain things. He really breaks it down so it's so understandable. Like anybody can understand it. He's not talking jargon, or he's very, very simple to understand. I just love the way he presents information. It's easy to digest. Great book. If you haven't checked it out, guys, definitely worth checking for sure.
Alfred, one last question to you that just popped into my head. Are you a Bitcoin man?
Ooh.
Or are you solely on the one investment?
So you know what it is? 5 years ago, I bought a Litecoin. That's the only cryptocurrency coin I had. I just sold it recently, and it wasn't making me any money. It's just something I bought and forgot about. But I was close to buying Ethereum this weekend. Oh no! A few days ago when a dip happened, like 20-30% dip. I was close trying to buy it maybe at 700 pounds. Just one coin, just to kind of have that one coin. But I wouldn't put money into Bitcoin now because I feel like the growth is there. I wouldn't put like £1,000, and if it has to double, it has to go to like 50-60k to kind of double. Doesn't make sense. But I would bet let's say £1,000 on Ethereum, and if Ethereum went from £800 to £10,000, it's worth my time. And it's money I've forgotten about. It doesn't really make a difference if I lose or not. But I wouldn't put it into Bitcoin personally. I think there's more growth opportunity in Ethereum based on the level of amount I'm investing into it. So if I was investing maybe what Bitcoin is worth today, and it went to 100k, let's say I bought it for 30-40k and it went to 100k, yes, that's great. But for me, if Ethereum I bought it for Ethereum for £800 and it went to 100k, that's way better. And I don't need that money, so I wouldn't mind putting something into it. But I'm keeping tabs on it. Let's say that I will probably buy one coin. I'm probably gonna stuck into it and just say because I'm fear of missing out. But
Alfred, don't dilute
on property.
Do not dilute your attention, mate. I love physical assets that I can touch, hug, kiss, and feel. Even if they drop in value, they're there for me to touch.
Yes, I agree. 100% agree.
And on that note, Alfred, thank you so much for joining me on the J2 Hub podcast. I'm going to put all your social media links in the notes of the podcast when it gets released. I'm hoping to have it out this week, actually. So the end of this week, I want to get it out. And obviously, people just need to search your name on the socials and you pop up.
Yeah, no. It's been amazing, James. Thanks for having me on here. It's been real good fun. And I hope you guys got loads of value out of this as well. Because, I think a lot of gems have been dropped here for sure.
Thank you so much again, Alfred.